Good morning, everyone. This morning's children's lesson is from Genesis chapter 45, verses 3 through 11. And the story is about kind of a long word called reconciliation. Do you guys know what reconciliation means?
Like to make right and to reconnect?
Right, to make right, to reconnect. Sometimes people say it means to harmonize something, right? So I thought I'd pick something from the house that I could reconnect. So I picked the dog collar, right? So reconciliation would be to make that, to reconnect it, right? So I'll read the verses and we'll talk about Joseph and his brothers. Sound good? Mm-hmm. All right. So Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you. For 2 years now there had been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will not be plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household, and ruler of all Egypt. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me, don't delay. You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me, you, your children and grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and all that you have. I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute.'" All right, so in order for this story, this is kind of at the end of the story. So in a couple chapters before this story, there was a man named Jacob, and he had a bunch of sons. So he had a bunch of sons, and then the youngest son, I think it was his youngest son, was a boy named Joseph. All right, and Joseph had a talent, and his talent was he was able to interpret dreams. So imagine if you had a dream and Ben could tell you what it meant, or if Ben had a dream and you could tell Ben what it meant, right? So that really upset his brothers, and they conspired with one another, and one day they said, well, let's take Joseph and let's do something to him. So they thought about killing him, they thought about putting him in a pit, but as they were thinking about that, some people walked past and the brothers sold their brother Joseph to these individuals. So what that did, right, it broke the family apart. And so how do you think that made those brothers feel? Kind of sad, angry, depressed, right? Because they realized what they had done, selling their brother to someone, was wrong. So what this story says is that years and years and years later, there was a famine, which means there wasn't enough food in the country. Mm-hmm. And so they found out that if you went to this one place, they were giving away food. And when they went to the place to get some food for the family, they realized the person who was in charge of the food distribution was their brother Joseph. Oh. And they were angry, or not angry, they were shocked. Oh my word, that's our brother Joseph. But listen to what Joseph says to them. He says, "So then, it was not you who sent me here, but God who made me father to Pharaoh." So Joseph was telling his brothers, it's okay. I'm not mad at you. It's actually God who sent me here. So what that did, it reconciled the family back together, right? Because what Joseph said to his brothers is he said, go get my father, our father, and we'll all come down, he can see me, and we can be one happy family together. So that is the story of Genesis 45, verses 3 through 11.